And we're back.
Welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Go Local News editor Kate Nagel, joined right now by State Rep Aaron Regunberg, who officially announced today his run for Lieutenant Governor. Aaron, thank you for coming back in.
Thanks so much for having me, Kate.
You've been in the studio before. You know the drill, talking right to the people here.
Yeah.
So talk with us about this morning, reception to your kickoff event.
Well, it was an exciting morning for sure. We had over 100 friends and supporters down in Warwick to announce my campaign for Lieutenant Governor of Rhode Island. I've been in state government now long enough to know that the system needs change. I've seen firsthand how often Rhode Islanders who can't afford a state house lobbyist get ignored. And the only way to change that is to bring the people's voice to the state house. We need some more public accountability. You've been up there, you see. We need more voices at the table. And that Lieutenant Governor's office, I think, is an incredible opportunity for the people of Rhode Island. Let's take that statewide bullhorn and let's use it to bring thousands of Rhode Islanders together to make our voices heard in government. Let's take that office for the people. That's the vision for our campaign, and it was off to a great start today, and I'm looking forward to a lot of work getting across to every city and town. We're going to bring this campaign directly to the people in town halls and living rooms across the state.
So tell us, why the location that you were at today? What made you decide to go there?
So we had our location down at the Gatsby Days Committee. It's not too far from where 245 years ago Rhode Islanders lit the spark that began the revolution. And so we decided to have our campaign kickoff there because I think it really it reflects what's so special about this state, the spirit. Rhode Islanders are independent, they're tough, they're hardworking, they're willing to stand up for what's right. And we deserve state leadership that reflects those values, that's willing to take on a system that we know is too often rigged in favor of the wealthy and the well-connected. So that's why we were down in Warwick, and we're going to continue this campaign across the state.
So I'm sure you saw the poll results that Go Local had released in conjunction with John Delavolpe last week. Social Sphere, Harvard's Institute of Politics pollster. You saw the numbers.
By the way, we've got a gap in public polling in Rhode Island, so I was grateful to see whenever there's more resources like that, thanks to Go Local.
Well, as we said, we want to get nonpartisan, one of the top pollsters in the country. So the first day was about direction of the state, and one of the big concerns that was indicated within the poll is that the majority of Rhode Islanders, more than who thought that we were going on the right track, think we're not going on the right track. What's your reaction to that? What do we need to do to address that sort of sentiment from Rhode Islanders?
A lot of Rhode Islanders are struggling. People are trying to support their families. There's a lot of work to do in our state, and I think we need to make sure that our state government is actually listening to the voices of the public. There is so much to do to guarantee access to health care for all families, to secure living wages for working people, to take bold climate action no matter what's happening in D.C. with this terrifying announcement with the EPA gag order this week. There's a lot of work to do. I think Rhode Islanders feel insecurity, like people across the country, and they need to they want to know that our state government is fighting for them, that we're not just that the legislature or state government isn't just listening to the best connected lobbyists, to the wealthiest among us. That's why I think this campaign is important, why the Lieutenant Governor's office can play a big role in being a voice for the people and being a lobbyist for all the folks who can't afford a well-connected state house lobbyist.
And that was one of the questions on day one about, again, that sentiment economically, those pocketbook issues, talking about the POSOCs, talking about the governor. But we also looked at each elected official, and we did see that current Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee's numbers were a little eyebrow-raising. The fact that more than half either have not heard of him or had no position on him whatsoever. Do you think that he has not been a major presence in the Lieutenant Governor's role to date?
Well, Kate, I'm here today to talk about my campaign for Lieutenant Governor, the vision that I have for how to use that office as an independent advocate, as a voice for the public to bring people's concerns up to the State House, put Rhode Islanders' concerns front and center. So that's going to be our focus. Again, I think that there is a desire and a need in our state for new ideas, new leadership, new energy, and I think that I can bring that to the table.
So, as we've asked you about the lieutenant governor, this focus has been a lot on small businesses. What can the lieutenant governor's role do to engage Rhode Islanders in that sense, as you talked about, sort of being the people's lobbyist? We've had Dan McKee in here talking about fighting the rate increase, which I know you agreed with, against National Grid as well. But what are the specific issue areas that a lieutenant governor can really roll up their sleeves and hit the ground running with?
Well, I'm an organizer by background. That's how I first got involved in Rhode Island politics, organizing in our public schools, helping young people to win real policy change here in Providence. And I think that's the approach that could really bring value to that office. A place where we can set up a rebel base camp in the State House to bring Rhode Islanders together, to spotlight issues and inject some of that public accountability. There's not a lot of resources for legislators up there who have been working to do that work to get more organized. And so I think that office can really can fill that role and can be a place where someone's willing to say when the emperor has no clothes. Someone's willing to bring that public accountability.
The lieutenant governor, that one heartbeat away from the governor's office. Some of the numbers that we found with Della Volpe's polls were the governor's numbers. Folks have concerns about her leadership. That 40% number that she was elected on. How do you view her tenure as governor so far?
I think the governor's done some exciting things. I was a supporter of college promise in the House, and there have been a number of issues where I've pushed the administration to take a bolder stance, to step up. The exciting thing about the lieutenant governor in Rhode Island is that it is constitutionally separate, and so it can be an independent advocate, which means that it's not it can't be held captive by any politician. It's accountable to the public, to the voters, and so I think having this vision in the lieutenant governor's office, no matter who's governor, can make sure that these issues move forward.
So tell us, if you can, Aaron, who's in the kitchen cabinet? Who's advising? Who's sort of sitting around that table with you that you're moving forward? Is it folks from District 4? Are you getting around the state? Who else is there at the table? Are you going to be telling us more moving forward?
I'm blessed with a community and a constituency that has supported me, and I feel really, really lucky and grateful for their support. So I've worked hard to make sure that that folks in my district have a role in this. We've been having events in the neighborhood to get people's input and feedback. We've also been working to have events around the state to make sure that we're getting feedback and ideas from people in every part of Rhode Island, and we're going to continue that work. I'm confident that the relationships that I've built, the leadership that I've demonstrated, bringing people together to pass significant legislation that a lot of pundits didn't think was possible, whether it's guaranteeing paid sick days for over 100,000 Rhode Islanders who didn't have it, whether it's increasing access to wind and solar energy, or raising the wages of Rhode Islanders, that those relationships and those networks are going to be really helpful in building the statewide organization that will need to get our message out and win this election.
Still got the state rep hat on as we speak, though, as we're watching what's going on with the Pawtucket Red Sox with the hearings at the Senate and House side. Sitting here today, do you believe that it's going to be voted on up or down at the General Assembly level? Do you think that legislation could be introduced for this to go before the voters?
I think that a public referendum makes a lot of sense. As I've said, our campaign is all about how do we give Rhode Islanders a voice in government, and that's an important way to do it. My focus on that question is, do the finances work for the people of Rhode Island, and are those the best use of our limited resources? That's a question. I mentioned this to you before. I'm working to keep an open mind. The General Treasurer, I think, had some really thoughtful comments on it today. So keeping an open mind, but certainly make whatever happens needs to be good finances for the people.
And so made the big announcement today. Here we are, end of October. January is right around the corner. What are we looking to expect from Aaron in 2018 at the State House?
So I'm looking forward to continuing to fight on a lot of the issues that I've been working on. Ever since I got in the legislature, I've tried to prioritize the investments that we need in our public schools. It is a moral catastrophe, the state of a lot of our schools. my freshman year, I organized a tour for legislative leadership to actually go into some schools in Providence and Cranston and a few other places to see the mold, the asbestos. There's a lot more work to do there. I'm excited that there does seem to be some momentum. The general treasurer is working with his task force. So that's got to be a big priority.